Steve Johnson.
Here.
Mike Fisher.
Here.
Daniel Griffin.
Here.
Sonia.
Here.
McKinsey.
Whitaker.
Whitaker. I'm thinking of another Sonia. I'm sorry. I'll get it right. So, apologize. And George
No
Dykes
problem.
did say that he is going to be about 5 to 10 minutes after before he gets here. He wants to be on the roll. So, all right. So, reading of the previous month's meeting. Ms. Sonia.
That would be me. A meeting called to order by Brandon Jones at 7:01. Members present: Brandon, Sonia, Doug, George Dykes, Daniel, Steve Johnson. Prayer by George Dykes. Motion from Daniel to go into executive session. Second by Mike Fisher. Executive session begin at 7:02, ends at 7:22. After motion from Mike Fisher, second by Daniel Griffin. Guess I should put approved by all on there.
We also need to add the, it was to discuss ongoing legal matters.
Okay. I'm new at this thing.
We appreciate you. All make mistakes and I just want to do so.
Okay, prior minutes read by Sonia Whitaker, motion to approve. Doug, second by Daniel, approved by all. Treasurer's report given by Doug. See attachments. If you didn't have them from last week and you wanna see those, but Doug has told me a different way to do this next month, but I do have those if anyone wants to look at them that wasn't here. Motion to approve, Mike, second by George, approved by all. 2020 taxes have been complete and e-filed on 11/8/21. Motion to move surplus funds from checking to a reserve account tabled until the next meeting. Proposal for financial audits for years 20 and 21. Motion to contract with Don Wallace for audits by Doug, second by Mike, approved by all. Chief's report was very, very lengthy. I have copies of that if anybody wasn't here last meeting. If you want to get a copy of those, see me and I'll give you a copy. Committee reports: Brandon will post a message on Facebook requesting volunteers to be on a committee to explore and make recommendations for future rate increases. Santa routes will be published soon, asking for candy donations. Old business, legal, the attorney is working on the bylaws, formalizing exemptions. Changes will be posted in advance to the public. 90% are changes in verbiage and need a bylaw change to change the dates of the monthly meetings per Daniel. 1303 repairs, I should have altered that. Repairs complete will be picked up later this week. Fire recovery update, letter received requesting a modification of billing practices. Chief Harris says letter is irrelevant. We are already direct billing. Jan Smith asked us why we were not billing for structure fires that all homeowners, typo there, should cover a $500 response fee. After discussing details, motion to bill all structure fires and homes to homeowners insurance. Daniel Griffin made the motion, second by Steve, approved by all. New business, Steve made a motion to add a rebilling fee for accounts that have to be rebilled due to non-payment. Mike Fisher, second, approved by all. Martha McFarland brought up that in 2001, a motion was passed to add a late fee to overdue accounts. The motion passed, but the fee was not added. Brandon advised we could not call it a late fee. Then Mike made a motion, wait, this is not right. One of these was for bounce checks. Was that the $50?
The $50 is the,
Return check.
Return check fee, yeah.
I will fix that. I knew I just-
So we just need a motion about the, rebilling the fee, because it had already been passed, we just had to tell people to start putting it in there.
Okay.
Been running for the past 20 years.
Alright, Brandon said a request for a house on Central Park Drive would like an official determination on which fire service responds to her property. Brandon Jones and Chief Harris will be meeting with the homeowner. This is gonna be the next day. Then we bounce back to a little bit of old business. Bids for the deck repair are no longer valid. We'll ask for new bids. Then this is public input where I may have picked the wrong people's name on here because I don't know everybody yet. And I couldn't see you, I was just having to listen. Mary Christensen, is that right? Okay. Asked when the special called meeting mentioned at the annual board meeting would be held. Brandon advised that we are waiting on bylaw changes to be finalized before scheduling. Bylaw changes will be published well ahead of the meeting, and Tracy requested a better breakdown of the expenses on the reports. Martha expressed her thanks to the community donations this month. Over $2,200 was donated when the fees were sent in. Mary asked about the legality of the proxy votes. Is that right? Just to make sure. Daniel advised there will be changes in the bylaws to address some of the issues with them. Current proxies and changes that need to be made were discussed. Jan advised that she had not received her bill. Martha printed her one off. Janet Wilson advised the bylaws on the website are wrong. Is that right?
Yeah, she asked about it.
Okay. It will be corrected when we get new bylaws. Minutes from the last annual meeting may need correcting. Also asked that the minutes for the June 2021, is that right? Be changed to state that Ms. Wilson only asked for clarification in reference to the liens. Daniel made the motion to correct the minutes. George Dyke second, and approved by all. Meeting to adjourn, the meeting by Brandon, second by George, was adjourned at 8:35. Yes, I have several changes. Several things to fix. Did I do your name right? Did I call you Griffin? I'm so sorry. There's Griffin right there.
That ain't the worst thing to do.
But I will get those fixed.
Motion to accept the minutes with corrections.
Got a motion, and got a second? All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Treasurer's report?
We began the month of November with $126,395.14 in our checking account, with an ending balance, and we ended the month with $141,501.41. That broke down to incoming $32,771.51 and outgoing of $17,665.24. As requested, I believe it was by Ms. Jan Dickey Smith last month, we broke down income of the different, where it came from. And then we've got the expenses, and nothing jumps out of me as out of line. It's all pretty routine. In our savings account, we ended the month of November with $42,696.18.
On payroll and related expenses, we used to break the chief pay out separately. Why do we change it to just summing up payroll as one lump sum? No reason, just did it.
I think it may have something to do with QuickBooks. You having a,
I mean,
Have an idea?
I can break it out however they want it broken down. They didn't want any names or identifying information on salaries, like the guy used to make
The
his
salary
salary. So if you have to lump
Is that
it,
what
but
it said?
they don't want any personal,
No,
information.
Like, put it on the line and then the expenses.
Understandable.
That's what he's saying.
They all get paid the same pay. But,
Yeah, that's it.
just my question is, why is the chief not separated out like it used to be? It needs to be separated out.
I disagree with that. You're gonna
Chief?
separate out one employee's salary, even if it is the chief, because yes, it's public record. Come in here and ask for it all they want to, but the whole purpose of these
Alright, I
financial
just go on
reports.
record saying I think it needs to be separated out, that's all I want to say. Thank
I
you.
don't think so.
I disagree with that.
Yeah, ain't the first time.
It won't be like.
Well, won't be the last this meeting.
Nope, you bet you won't.
any questions or any changes other than that? Need a motion to accept the treasurer's report?
Make a
As
motion
written.
to accept.
Motion
As
on
recorded.
the floor. Need a
Second.
second? All in favor?
Aye.
Alright. We have a November's, well, that's the same thing as my bad. Don't throw me off with these extra ones. Chief's report. Daniel, would you mind reading the chief's report?
Alrighty. Chief Harris submitted this apparently this morning. This month we've been a good bit busy with grants, hose testing, pump testing, manpower study, and Christmas prepping for the 18th, which we hope will be a lot of fun this year. As you know, we do a Santa Stop program where Santa will actually get off the truck and interact with children. Scheduling and manpower needs due to the lack of applicants, we're going to implement the manpower initiative voted on in November early to help cover shifts, especially on C shift. This time, Lieutenant Green will cover all A shifts, Lieutenant Chris Cooper will cover all B shifts. C shifts will be covered by a combined effort of fill-ins, and 160 certified firefighters, or 160 certified firefighters per our new manpower policy and its usage. The following are fill-ins: Stuart, Aaron, Hunter, Chad, and Jack. 160 available are Gary, Rachel, and Jim. And just so everybody's aware, 160, talking about the certification, I was unclear on that. We do not have 160 certified firefighters. Maintenance, 1311 is temporary out of service due to bad batteries. We'll be back in service soon. These trucks need to be cranked at least once a week and ran for 20 minutes or more. We'll address this problem in the weekly checkoff assignment. Gas can be used at Station 2 again. The moment I see a high bill, it'll be turned off again and we'll address its usage versus keeping those trucks warm and their fluids. I'm assuming it means their fluids warm. All other trucks are running well. We'll have our truck serviced twice a year by Lieutenant Cooper and Gary Johnson. This program is working and will continuously provide dividends in future greater online service. Grants are going well. Firehouse grant for extrication has been submitted. It was for $31,000. Tom Bigby grant project is to be started now. The following Posel.contractors, I'm going to have to ask him what he means on that one, have submitted their quotes. Integrity Construction is for $11,200 and is the lowest bidder at this time. Numbers broken down from this company as follows: tear down 896, installation 10,304, the total of 11,200.
This is the deck.
Yes, this is for the deck. Deposit 6720 and the balance will be 4480. Other companies weren't even close. You can certainly look at those which Martha has at her disposal. The AFG grant that has been written by Lex Paul has been sent. The amount is for $51,000 for 15 sets of turnout gear. The AFG grant and the fire truck will be sent by the 17th for $500,000 plus for a new fire truck. We'll know the results of all the grants between July 1st and September 1st of 2022. Training will be ramping up after the first of the year. Be the #1 focus. Pre-fire planning. Pre-fire planning has been finding some discrepancies in measuring square footage for pre-fire plans and billing. Chief will be doing pre-fire plans as needed from here on out. These pre-fire plans are vital to our department in many ways. So in attempting to do them, they must be done in a tactful way. Please consult the chief on all matters dealing with billing and pre-fire planning of our businesses. Fire recovery will have many billable calls sent to them this month in January, and it just says EMS calls. State retirement language update from the board. According to state retirement, RSA 1, if we have between 5 and 10 employees, it will cost the department $1,000 to do a feasibility study to implement state retirement in the future. Add another $350 for administrative research. Have every intention of backing Gary Johnson becoming a professional firefighter. We need to support him any way we can. Our volunteer firefighters and paid personnel are tremendous assets we should reward loyalty. Gary can get it worked out with the military, and that's a big if. We need to send him to rookie school and provide for him during, I'm assuming he meant during his quest, so I'm assuming during this right here. I have a plan plan to accomplish this goal, which I will unveil in January at the board meeting of that month. Remember, Gary would only be in school 5 weeks, 25 folks.
What does it mean provide training?
Right, what?
What does it mean by provide?
In other words, I mean, I'm not gonna speak for the chief here, but my assumption would be that, and this is actually something that's been discussed in the past, as something for the future, and something that we would like to implement or do to increase, is taking some of the volunteers that have, you know, put in a large amount of service and stay with the department, and actually paying for them to go and become trained as firefighters.
With them signing.
To get the correct certifications to be professional firefighters.
Pay for the training?
Yes.
Okay,
With them signing a 2-year contract to work here.
Okay, I understand it now. That's
So,
fine.
it's
I'm
a way
good
for
with
us
that.
to- That's one of those things we hadn't worked the details out, so that's what he's, I guess that's what he's mentioned there. The only thing I was looking at here, I would like to see those other bids. I don't care how much higher they are, we're still going to compare them just for the sake of doing what's, you know, what's proper on that. But that's the entire chief's report.
Clarify on 1311, it's the parts were ordered today, and they should be here within the next 2 days. 1311 should be up and should be back in service no later than Friday or Saturday.
Yes, Ms. Mayor.
Is there a list of the volunteers and paid firefighters? And I know last month he said we have 10 volunteers. Is that how many is on the roll, or how many are actually responding to calls? Because the last few weeks, there has been multiple days when no one is responding all day to calls, and I've been interested in knowing, you know, is there something happened in the last few weeks that has not happened, you know, been the case before?
A lot of our guys, and we're shrinking down to every third shift. We only got 3 pay guys, and some of them are working other jobs, and a lot of this COVID stuff is making them work more overtime on their main job at points in time. So we're having to fall back on trying to rely on the volunteer service too, and there have been some gaps in services.
Well, don't we have someone here 24 hours a day?
That's what I'm saying. And if
We
they
don't have
get,
people here 24 hours?
if they get, we do, but if they get called in or are held over at another job, then
That's
their
the
main
paid
job
firefighters, correct, that are
is
here?
the pay. Like Chad here, for instance, he's here tonight.
Well,
Or he-
I know out of the last 4 Saturdays, 3, there's been no coverage. And I don't know about last weekend. Also, like the other day, one day last week, there was several calls. One day, I can't remember if it was Wednesday or Thursday. It started out that morning with an overdose call. What happens when they're toned out 3 times, nobody responds? What happens?
They roll it to the next closest fire department.
Well, they weren't doing that on some of them. They started out and then.
They may have rolled it to
At
Green.
least according to what
Yeah.
you hear on the scanner.
If they roll it to Green Pond, you won't hear it because they're on a different frequency. So, that could have happened. It depended on where if the call was, you know, on that side, they would still come if they're the closest. But, I know Brookwood got called up here. I know at least one time, and then they worked the fire the other day with us the other morning, so, I
But
don't
if
know
you
why
don't
they wouldn't
hear,
have it.
if you don't hear anyone, it's either Green Pond
Or the county sheriff's department, their deputy may be coming. That might be why they didn't tone it out. They probably could have found that a deputy was closer. If it was, you know, a situation where they needed a paramedic, they could have rolled that deputy without toning anybody out.
And there's been times.
And they won't tell us that.
And there's
that they're
been
sending.
times that y'all won't hear us talking either. Because the reason why I say is last weekend, you brought up last weekend. Last weekend, even though the paid staff wasn't here, you had a volunteer here for the whole 48 hours. I know because I was the one that was here for the 48 hours.
So were you not answering the radio?
I was answering radio. So that's what I'm saying. A lot of times y'all don't hear us. SO don't even hear us.
I noticed the big problem too is the SO is toning us out, boom, 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 and they don't give us a chance to even answer the radio here lately. And I was on the interstate the other night on a call, and they were toning out a second tone out, and I tried to answer between them 3 tone outs, and I couldn't get a word in edgewise. And Gary was responding with me, and he went ahead, he heard the tone out, he just went ahead and went the route. Finally, when the radio cleared up, I asked him to make sure he was going in a route. He went to the other call, so.
Well,
It's-
I don't have a scanner myself, but I have 2 friends that have them, and they always call and ask me if I know what's going on. And according to both of them, they're saying these are things they've never heard before. It just seems odd. that
We have been short a couple of days here and there. It's just cause of the way the situation is with some of the employers. You know, most everybody, their main job is full-time at the other departments. If they get held over, we gotta try to get a fill-in here, and sometimes that doesn't happen. So we're just having to rely. It goes back to, you know, years ago, we had to rely on volunteers in. We were missing 40-something calls back then. Nobody ever complained about that. During a month's period, we missed 40-something calls. I tracked it years ago before to push to go to paid positions, and it averaged out to about 30 to 40 calls a month that went unanswered. So we were doing a whole lot better than we ever have. That's at this time. It's just COVID has messed everybody up.
Well, are the 10 volunteers that he said last month we have, do they all 10 of them regularly answer
We
response calls?
don't have 10 volunteers.
There's a list. I don't know if it's up to date on that, but we have. I don't have it. Hang on just a second.
Wouldn't necessarily, once again, I don't want to answer for chief, but looking at his report, and I know why he would exclude Brandon from the list, because he fills in as a volunteer here too, obviously. But there are 3 names listed as available 160 volunteers. To me, this is the way I would take that. I would think that's the 3 160 volunteers that he basically puts in his back pocket as people that he can consistently rely on to be available, with other volunteers on the list being people who, you know, maybe are only available somewhat infrequently because of their, you know, the way their job is. I mean, for instance, I'm not a volunteer, but if I were, it'd be real difficult for me to respond to a fire call here if I'm at a closing to trust me.
Yeah, it's the same with Rachel and Jim. You
Yeah,
check
yeah.
their record in the last 12 months, of how many calls have they ran, but they ain't been in town. You know, but they're on the list saying that they're available.
So how many volunteers do we have to receive state, county funding? That we have? Isn't there a set number?
It's 80. What is it? 80, 20.
80%
Yeah.
volunteer, 20% paid.
Yeah, that money's $1,100 from forestry. The state doesn't have that percentage. It's just we get that money, but the county, and we just got to have certified in AED and CPR. So but I'm looking at here on the group text. There's 7, counting myself, that are volunteers. Whether they're, I'm just saying that's the total number. Whether they're here all the time or not, it's 7 that I'm seeing right now.
So we haven't lost any paid firefighters, it's just the situations like you said, or are we down any?
I don't know about Stewart. I think he's just, did he drop back to
He's a
Philly?
fill-in.
Okay, so he's not an active member every shift. So Chad's picking up some of the shifts, and I think Hunter.
Hunter's
Yeah,
picking
Hunter,
up
okay.
on some of the B shifts. Me and Chad are splitting the C shifts. And then, but right now, Hunter's not out of his probationary period, so Chief has to let him go by himself.
So let me go ahead and get a motion to accept this. Which one were we at? We're on the chief's report. Let me get a motion to accept the chief's report, then we can discuss that a little bit more. I apologize.
Make a motion to accept the chief's report.
All right, need a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor? All three. That
Enjoy.
answer most of your questions, Ms. Mary? That you have one?
Well, actually, I had one, but you answered it, but it prompted a follow-up, the question I didn't ask. My first question was going to be, is this statistic that something that you track generally, but your comments were, you did it one time for a specific purpose, but evidently you don't anymore. It might be a metric that you wanna monitor regularly, so that things, as they shift, you see them earlier than the public comes in and asks.
I think Chief,
You're on top of it.
yeah, Chief's been doing a pretty good job of it. They write all the runs in the logbook. They're supposed to be, even if they do know there's one missing, they're supposed to put in there that it's missed. That way we can track it. But I hadn't looked at the logbook to see.
But for instance, I think your chief's report typically tells how many runs, what were EMS, that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
it wasn't this
But
one.
maybe about the calls that were missed. And it may be that you said something about if it were to Green Pond, you wouldn't hear it.
Yeah.
You know, how do you know, was it really missed or was it responded to by someone that you can't hear?
Exactly.
Again, that would be something that you would know and before the public tells you.
Yeah.
You got a problem.
You know, the chief probably can answer that question and probably does know it before the public brings it to their attention. That would be something.
But it
they would bring
reports to
on.
you, the
Yes.
board, the board would want to know these things, and the chief's, and that the chief is staying on top and communicating those things.
Yeah, if
As
he were here, he'd
opposed
probably
to-
report it to us.
Do we get any kind of log from the sheriff's department or 911 or anything?
We can get a annual log of what they told us out for, and, yeah. And that's one way where I collected some of that information from years ago to help push towards getting paid was we actually got that report and matched it up to what we were tracking on, the volunteer reimbursements. They used to have to write everything down when they went on a call, who went, and what call they went on, similar to what we do on the call log now. And then we matched it up to see which ones were missed. Like I said, it was,
And we still do that on the paper run sheet.
yeah.
And the full-time, the paid ones that work the 24, they clocked in and out?
Yeah. They do. All right. Let's see.
As far as the, not here in Green Pond, I have a radio that actually belongs to me that is programmed for Green Pond, and none of the calls that I heard that were missed were turned out to Green Pond.
Do we have to renew mutual aid, or is that just kind of an ongoing thing?
It's an ongoing thing. And another thing with Green Pond is there's still a little bit of quandary between the county sheriff's department and them. There's, they have been sending them over here, for ambulance support because the ambulances are so terribly understaffed nowadays.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. It's sad. That's another problem we're gonna have to address before too long. Last night, we had a call, one of our employees that works here, her husband had a wreck on the interstate, and they sat out there for over an hour and a half waiting on the ambulance. They brought him here and transported him POV to the hospital. Not the ambulance, to that. Another person brought him here to meet up with his wife, and she took him to the hospital. So that's how bad it's getting. And they called everything from Tuscaloosa to Jefferson County and Bibb County to try to get an ambulance, and they couldn't get one. This was like 7, 8 o'clock at night that time. Yeah, we'll just, on the Green Pond thing, we'll just have to keep an eye on that, Tracy. Were you scanning, do you scan that? Okay, so it allows you to hear it automatically? All right, communications, I don't think we have anything on that. I hadn't heard, anybody got anything on communication?
I have a question.
Yes, sir. Can you tell me, state your name and?
Yeah, my name's Jacob Bowden. If you're dispatching for Tuscaloosa,
Mm-hmm. they're supposed, yeah, if they know they don't do an automatic, it all depends on what situation, what kind of situation you're talking about, just like a medical call or.
If they're your mutual aid, and you're dispatching from Tuscaloosa County,
Mhm.
Tuscaloosa County's dispatch contacting Bibb County because Green Pond's dispatch is not Bibb County.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying earlier, that's why they wouldn't hear each other.
Is
Yes.
this, well, but I'm saying, is this where a breakdown in
I think it's just the bad blood between the sheriff's department and Green Pond with the ambulance issues. It's got,
Well, here's another question. Does anybody in this room other than me know Hank Tyler?
I know Hank Tyler.
Do you know he's on the board in Montgomery for ambulance service? Why are we not talking to Hank Tyler about getting improved?
I've talked to the state medical director 3 times last week, Dr. Crawford. I mean, he knows the problem. They're bumping their pay up for Hale County to $24-25 an hour to keep people in staff.
I mean,
I agree with you.
I keep hearing excuses of why there's failures and I'm not hearing solutions, and that's where there's a problem.
Yeah. Well, Jefferson County's got the same problem. Tuscaloosa County's got the same problem. Tuscaloosa City's got the same problem. So,
I mean,
The state as a whole, from what I understand, the last few years has made it so difficult to become an EMT or a paramedic, and if you are one, to get your CEUs and to do this, and nobody's wanting to do it. There's a bad shortage of EMTs and paramedics, and firefighters, all of them.
not only that, it's just the staffing shortage because nobody wants to work anymore. If they're getting a paycheck from the government, there's some lazy enough to sit home and live off a paycheck and not earn a living. I mean, that's everywhere.
You're preaching to the choir. I get up at 4:30 every morning and go to work.
You also
I
got
do
to
too.
think too that a lot of your, especially ones that have a lot of state involvement, they're gonna have a lot of, COVID procedures put in place they don't get an answer about. And it's not saying, hey, that runs people off, or that causes a problem, but it causes a staffing problem when you get a paramedic who has to go sit at the house for 2 weeks for no reason because he went into the wrong house.
I understand what you're saying,
Yeah.
but there are folks out there that have not used this COVID excuse, and that's what it's become, is an excuse. I don't care if it's fire department or who it is, it's an excuse across the board to not do what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to be a governing board, and you're supposed to govern the chief and those people in the department. What I'm hearing is we don't have enough volunteers, we don't have enough paid employees, and the solution that y'all have come up with for that is to raise dues.
So that we can
That's
offer
not the
competitive pay to
solution.
get
The
paid
solution
firefighters.
is, there's people in this community that would volunteer for this fire department. You got to find those people and make it attractive for them to come and give that time. But when I see a financial statement that tells me you spent $0 on training for the month of November, $0. Explain to me how that is acceptable. Let me tell you a little story. May 24th of this year, I had a massive heart attack. I live on Broadway Drive. I refused to call a Lakeview because I know nobody here is qualified with advanced life support. My wife is. I had her take me to the hospital where I had to have a stent put in my heart that night. I died on the table for 4 minutes. But I refused to call Lakeview Fire Department because you don't have the qualifications. And there's no excuse for a department that's been in business as long as this one has, that, I mean, I don't care what happened in the past, but I keep hearing excuses for poor service, and the dues that we pay are for a service to be provided, and we're not getting what we're paying for. And you want more money. Now, please tell me how that makes any sense.
we're
Because
wanting
we
more
can't
money.
afford to have ALS and bring in these more paid firefighters when we're paying on average $4 and $5 an hour less than all the neighboring departments are. That's what it is. We're operating on a 2003 budget. Everybody else around us is operating on a 2018, 2019, 2020 budget. So we have to make things work that way. And we've got a very good chief who knows what
He
he's
answered,
doing,
he's answered.
is making some making great strides to improve the way the department runs. But when you have a guy who comes in and says, hey, look, I can't stay here anymore because I'm going to McCalla and they're offering me more money.
I'm gonna disagree with you right there. When you're sitting here telling us that you've got 3 volunteers you can count on, your chief's not doing a good job.
That was my words, not his, and I specifically said I'm not speaking for him. It's an assumption that I'm making just based off of that.
My words are, if he's got 3 volunteers he can depend on, he's not doing a good job. And it's y'all's job to evaluate how he's performing, and if he's got 3 volunteers to count on, he's not doing a good job.
I think 2 or 3, and that's one of them.
And, I mean, I'm sorry, but the way I look at it, I'm looking at it as a consumer in this situation. I'm paying for a service, and it's just like going to McDonald's. You order a Big Mac, and they give you a regular cheeseburger with no cheese on it. I mean, that's what we're getting. And, you know, this is ridiculous that we keep hearing the same excuse month after month after month. You've got things here that make absolutely no sense to me on your financials, because you've got truck maintenance for the month of November at $366.26. But then you go up here and equipment maintenance, you've got $86.58. Isn't a truck part of your equipment?
Equipment is more like radios and handhelds and stuff like that. That's a separate line item.
And I understand that.
And going back to training, that $1,000, we're getting free training through the fire college right now. This $1,000 that we have budgeted for training is actually going to classes at the fire college to pay for some of those situations.
Who's taking those classes?
Anybody that wants to sign up for them, but nobody's signed up for them. We've just done driver's training this month through the fire college, the EVD class, and it was free. So, and we've implemented trying to do a money saver on that. And going back to expenses, just having a medical director to have an ALS license is $5,000 a year. So that's $5,000 that we need to come up with. Plus, you have your paramedics. That's going to cost us a little bit more. ALS drugs is going to cost us somewhat more.
Then you're going to also get into, are you going to transport? Are you going to charge for transport? Are you know, then you got to have.
And that's another thing we've got to.
You got to have a rescue unit that can transport. You got to have insurance to cover that, and
Exactly.
et cetera, et cetera. And that was something else that I saw that was a little odd. Why did we have no insurance expenditure for November?
It came out
We pay it biannually.
biannually.
Okay. But, I mean, it just, we can sit here and dream up the perfect department, the perfect situation, but my biggest thing is I think that there should be more volunteers brought in, and with the understanding, when they come in and go through that process, look, we're gonna expect this much out of you. I'm not saying they have to sit right here, but there should be a certain expectation that they put in a certain number of hours each month, or else they're wasting everybody's time and effort. And I don't think that's unfair. Just like this gentleman was saying about sending people to training and signing a 2-year contract. Okay? That's not out of the realm of possibility, but if you're gonna have, y'all are trying to build a paid fire department, I understand that. But this is still a volunteer heavy department. And people have got to put some emphasis and focus on those volunteers and get the volunteers in here. Even if it means going out here and saying, I'm sorry for what happened in the past, and getting people that are qualified to come back to this department and eat a little crow to provide for the people in this community.
I agree with that. That's
I
as
mean,
honest as it can be.
That,
Yeah.
is that irrational?
No, not at all.
I mean,
Gary wanted to say something too.
One thing I wanted to say about advanced life support. Currently we have 4 that are full-fledged paramedics, but they can only operate under the ramp as basic, as BLS. two, with your volunteers, as a volunteer, and even when they get their 160 certification, we have to keep up with 160 hours of training to keep our 160 certification. So, now the ones that aren't certified, the volunteers that aren't certified, we are working on getting them two classes, to the 160 class, whether it be traditional, which is in class, or hybrid, which is part in class and part online. For the ones that does have other jobs they gotta go to. But those are set up by the fire college, and we haven't. Our volunteers hasn't been the next class is in January, so they haven't been able to get into that class yet.
We got 2 of them in that class starting in January.
Correct.
Well, I mean, and I understand it, but what I'm getting at is, if you staff it correctly with volunteers, whether, and like I said, I'm sure there are people out there that have either worked here before, or would work here, that are either qualified or within distance of being qualified, that all it takes is a little humility and going and talking to them and say, look, you know, we really like to have you back, we're trying to do something here. Make them a sergeant, for God's sakes. I mean, come on. And just to give you an idea of what I know about fire departments and how they run, my dad was one of the founders of Eastern Valley Fire Department. I remember as a little boy, my daddy going knocking on people's doors begging for $5 so they could build a fire station. My father-in-law was a retired investment fireman for 30 years. Prior to that, he was chief of McNeil Fire Department before they incorporated into Vestal. Okay, so I know a little bit about fire departments and how things are structured. I've been in management, run several companies, and you can staff it to where, okay, this guy's working day shift at his job, maybe he can cover a couple of evenings. I got this guy who works night shift, maybe I can get him to cover a couple of days. And balance it out to where the people that you're providing service to are not losing out.
The chief does have a plan. I think that's what he stated in his chief's report somewhere with that starting in January. I think his idea is to actually put a volunteer alongside each day of the week with a staff member here. So maybe, hopefully that will help encourage and start building some, but we do need to get more into the community. Yeah, I mean, there's the only way this.
He's actually implemented that quicker than January. He's
Yeah.
already implemented.
Okay.
Well, I mean, from what I'm seeing, from what I'm hearing, you know, there's plenty of room for improvement in some of these things. And I'm just looking for solutions. I don't look for excuses, I look for solutions. And that's why I started asking these questions. When I see that, you know, you're showing that you spent no money in the month of November for training, I mean, come on.
I don't think there were any hours mentioned in the chief's report either.
He didn't even give numbers for runs, so it wasn't.
You know,
Yeah.
and of course, this is just me and the way that I do things. You know, you got a board meeting once a month, the chief ought to be here giving his report.
Yeah, he's at work.
Not sending it something to a board member to give for.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
He's at work.
At the meeting in
On his other
October, he
job.
wasn't there.
Yeah.
That doesn't look good that he's not showing up to be the face of the department. That's just me.
I'm not making excuses. Like I said just now, he's working tonight on his other fire job, so he's an employee somewhere else as well.
I get that.
Yeah.
Steve wouldn't have implemented that when he took the job, that somebody would be here.
Yeah, he should have had his deputy chief or somebody here, but that's neither here nor there. He's
I
not
think it used to
doing
be
it.
the case when we had more paid staff, back several months ago, is that he would have a deputy chief. I think Colby gave the report on a regular basis before he left and went to McCall.
Well, there's people in this world that just give them a title that makes them happy. So, You know, maybe calling somebody up that left and said, hey, we need a deputy chief.
Gotcha.
Get out. I'm just,
Yeah.
I'm throwing hooks in the water.
I understand. I mean, then,
Solutions, not excuses.
all right. Moving to old business. We're still working with the attorney. Let's see. We're supposed to meet with her after Christmas or at the first of the year. And then 1303 repairs are complete. It's back in service. Fire recovery's been addressed. Jan's comment was made into a resolution about billing all insurance companies on a residential fire. Any other old business?
Any follow-up on the financial audit? Anybody contact Don this past Thursday?
Do you know Miss? Yeah.
I don't know the details, but I know she does talk to him already.
I think she's just trying to schedule a date for him. to
Yeah,
come
with
in.
Christmas, I think there was some scheduling conflict, so probably be after, the major holiday.
All right. Old business, the dues increase committee, we do have 4 names on them. We were wanting, hopefully if we could wait till January, we'd like to get, they were all from this side of the district. We'd like to try to get 1 more or 2 more names from that side of the district if possible, if that's okay. With everybody wait until next month before we set the entire committee.
I'll volunteer, cause I'm in the county on the other side, so that'd give you a.
You'll be your board member. You know.
Well, what, you gonna have somebody working with them?
Yeah, one of the board members, yeah. I thought your name was.
I'm in the county and on the other side, I'll
Okay.
do whatever you need me to do. so.
Yeah, I think we had addressed putting your name on there as one of the board members already.
That's fine.
Okay, so we'll wait.
If we voted or not, but we discussed Doug and Sonia sitting in for the board and being 2 citizens. 2 non-board members.
Dues increase committee, the retirement plan was addressed in the chief's report. Anybody?
We, Brandon,
Yes.
if we've got anybody here who's on that list, maybe we should let them go ahead and state their case for being on that committee. That way they don't have to come back and do it again in January if there's anybody else.
We can do that. I think just one.
What names do you have on the list?
It was, Kathy, you remember all the names?
I know Martha has that list.
I know 1 for a fact that's not here right now, and 2 that for a fact that are, but I don't know the other names on the list.
I think Don Dotson was on the
Yeah,
list.
Don Dotson.
Yeah, he's not here. And Jan Smith's on the list, and she's not here. And Mr. Odin's on the list, he's here. And Ms. Weathers is on the list, and she's here.
Do y'all wanna address or y'all wanna wait till?
On
next
what
month?
list?
We'll work on
The
the
dues
dues
committee.
committee.
Yeah.
He was just saying, do y'all wanna make any comments about being on the committee tonight or wait till next month?
I'm just waiting to
Okay.
see if
All
I'm on the committee or not.
right. Good deal. We'll wait till next month.
So I'm taking that the committee hasn't met, that was agreed on in October.
We set it open for 30 days to get input to see who wanted to be on the board, or no, on the committee. And it came in this month, so we were gonna vote on it, but we didn't get any names from the other side of the district, on the other side of the interstate. So right now, we're trying to wait till we find out if we can get somebody from over there on that side to represent.
And we've got a little bit of time on it anyway.
Yeah.
We're still waiting on a state's attorney opinion, or attorney general opinion, because there's some conflict in some of the different statutes. And we don't know if we can even have another vote to increase dues within the next 3 years.
2 years.
And is it the next 2 years? Yeah, next 2 years. So we're waiting on the attorney general to give us an opinion on that, saying, yes, you can have the vote, no, you can't, because there's apparently some conflicts there. Where Tuscaloosa County's actual statutes say you can, but there's other statutes that say you can't. So they asked for an opinion on it. I don't want to be negative about it, but I'm not super hopeful, because of the counties that adjoin Tuscaloosa, every bordering county has the same policy. It's, if a dues increase vote fails, you can't do it again for another 2 years. I think Jefferson's actually 3. But we'll see what the Attorney General says. So we're not pressured for, hey, it has to be done right now at this point, because we don't even know if we can have the voting yet. So there's no need to rush it and say, hey, nobody got in within 30 days, so we're only gonna take from these 4 people. I think it's fair to give people in the preserve a chance to have some representation.
I mean, I don't disagree. I think if you rush to add another vote, instead of losing 6-1, you're gonna lose 7-1. I really did. I mean, I think the best idea would to take your dues increase committee and let them start talking and formulating ideas. Even before if you wanna add 2 more members to it, they can be brought up to speed. But I think if you did a minimal increase, you would do much better than what y'all tried to do with this vote. And, it doesn't seem like a lot, but it will add up. But in my opinion, I think the committee should go ahead and start having some meetings and figuring some things out. Kind of tossing some ideas around. And then if you add 2 members, like I said, they can be brought up to speed. There's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely. I mean, our intention was to actually vote that 4-person committee together tonight.
Yeah.
And I'm perfectly fine with voting it, but the question comes down to.
Like you said, we can add more names to it if we still go out to check and make sure all the members are current for that.
Yeah, we have to make sure that they're all current on their duties and that sort of thing.
You wanna make that motion?
We need to discuss the names that are active, who we're gonna put onto it.
Yeah.
I mean, me personally, I'm looking at Mr. Darrell Oden and Jan Smith as the two that I would put on. Jan is involved in just about every community organization around here. She has worked on town council, she's worked on the LPOA, she's, looked at these budgets and stuff, and she's honest and respected, so, plus she's got some long-standing ties to the fire district anyway, and, Mr. Oden's got experience working with fire departments at and around our size, and we definitely need to have somebody with that kind of experience and knowledge on the committee. That would be the 2 that I would pick off the list.
And Mr. Roden.
Yes, sir.
The other guy, I think there was a gentleman by the name of Blake, last name Blake, I don't know his first name that was on that list.
Wasn't Matt, was it?
No, it wasn't Matt. I would have recognized that one. Somebody that was at the annual meeting that brought his name. Miss Martha has it.
I really don't think we need to limit it to 4 people.
I don't either. I think we should have more.
And I think that's what Mr. Jacob was saying, is like, hey, we can always add a couple more later when
But
we
you
got
got
some
Don
people.
already
Why
on
would we
the
do
list.
it now?
And we're ending up with a 14-person committee, once
So?
we get
Well,
some
I
people
think
from
the
the other
more
side.
opinions that we
What's wrong
have,
with
the
that?
better off we would be. I don't think it should be decided by just 4 people.
Well, it's not decided by the board and then decided by the
Well,
public.
I get that, but still, I don't know why we're limiting it to.
I mean, what was voted on was 2 board members and 4 from the public.
No 4 from the public.
2 and 4, I thought it was 2 and 2. Well, I mean, 2 and 4 is fine with me anyway.
Well, the thing is, if you go ahead and vote them in and they start meeting, then you decide, okay, this other person wants to come in, and a month later, there's another one wants to come in. They're gonna spend all their time trying to catch up everybody that keeps coming in.
Exactly.
I think we can make a
Correction, it was 3 from the public and 2 from the board.
Okay, 3 and 2.
I think we make another post on Facebook and say, if you want to participate, give a deadline, and then we vote on it in the next meeting.
On all three, or we go ahead and put one or two on now and get it kind of started?
Okay.
Again, you're gonna spend your time catching those people. up.
Yeah, I'd rather have all of them when we start. I mean,
Well, you got Don Stockton, he's good with numbers.
He was the
Here's the
financial.
numbers, and he's worked with the district, he's been on the board before as well, so he's got,
So that would be three from the public.
I would.
well, I like Leslie's got experience on the city council. She's been treasurer for LPO. She's been here a long, long time.
How many volunteered?
A long, long
How many
time.
people expressed an interest when you put the call out?
These ones they named 5 people. Well, yeah,
5 people.
yeah. Out of the post that we made, 5 people out of ever how many citizens? 10,000 citizens.
Well, I don't
Did
think
we-
10,000
did we-
citizens see that post.
Yeah.
Did we post it at the churches and the stores, our normal places that we post on? Or do
No,
we
just
just do
on-
it on social media?
So,
See, that could be a problem, social media, I don't get on.
I don't,
So,
Some people don't.
the main thing is, we gotta educate the people. What do y'all want? I mean, what does everybody want? What kind of service you want? Because on the $238,000 budget, I think that is pretty good. There's a lot of equipment around here that has to be kept up.
Keep it.
You have volunteers, but they gotta have jobs. They gotta support their family. You want to pay for it.
So what you're saying, what the board is saying is whoever's picked, whether it be the board members that's on this council or the public that's on the council, has gotta be vetted to see who's up to date on fire dues before y'all make a determination on who's on the council.
Yeah,
True.
I mean, cause as much as it rankles my nerves, but there's absolutely no way around it because you're right as a citizen. People make a big deal about how badly the last vote went. But then you look at the breakdown and you look at the list of everybody who voted, and you had over 50% participation by people who owed significant back dues. I mean, don't get it twisted. The department would have lost regardless if you subtract out everybody who had bad back dues. But I mean, we still would have lost, and we would have lost by a significant margin.
And why are you still bringing it up?
Because it matters, because you have people, that's another thing people need to be educated on, is that you have people who don't pay their dues and have serially not paid their dues, who are voting with the people who have paid their dues to get their service, and they were basically voting to not be forced to pay their dues that everybody else pays the way they're supposed to. I mean, that's basically what it is.
Well,
And-
the lack of participation said a lot too.
That's another, you're absolutely
In the
right.
vote, that's what, 700 people? Roughly? Yeah.
It's real
But
difficult
some of those,
to educate
yeah, some of
everybody
those
on.
10,000 are children or younger adults that probably can't, they don't
Well,
have
there
property.
were people like, Wayne Kelly called me, he didn't even know about it until the vote was over with, and there was numerous ones like that. So I said-
No doubt we gotta do a better job of communicating, cause like he said, a lot of people don't
Yeah.
have social media. My mama still has a flip phone. No internet, no anything, so she would never know anything. We've gotta do better, and I don't know how to.
well,
Well,
Bill
you know,
we gotta
Coker,
work.
there was definitely some not seeing the forest for the trees type problems on the board, because we sat here and spent over a year talking about this stuff. So we put it out there and everybody turns around and says, hey, where did this come from? All we can think of is, we've been talking about this for a year, clearly it
But
drifted
again-
to you somehow.
I got
and I was
on
like,
the
no.
neighborhood network.
Yeah.
But 2 weeks before the vote, that's how I found out. My wife told me.
Again, you got people that don't
Yeah.
read social media.
Well,
They
yeah.
don't read it. My mother is 78 years old. She's not gonna get out and come to a meeting.
Well, I'm getting up
And she
before
doesn't have
they go
social
to work
media.
at 5, so
We looked at,
Shift.
buying, video signage for the roadways. And to have a double-sided sign that's visible is gonna run us about $35,000.
See, that's $35,000.
Well worth it, but you don't have it.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
Well, Bill Copeland had mentioned, the program that the school system uses was the text messaging. And all you'd have to do is figure out a way to get them to text it to a certain number, and then they would be in our system. And that way they could get the messages every month or whatever we needed to happen.
It's about having a shotgun approach. It's about doing everything you possibly can that's within reason. Like the sign he's talking about, I think if I'm not mistaken, we were talking about doing that with the town. So we weren't gonna come out of pocket the 35 grand we don't have all on our own. But like we had people asking about multiple mailers. Like every time we send out a mailer to everybody in this
Like
district, it's like
900,
35, it's like 3,500
oh,
bucks.
35 now, yeah.
It's like $3,500 every time we send a
Well,
mailer to everybody.
I'm from Pleasant Grove. I moved here about 14 years ago. I worked for the city of Pleasant Grove. We got a 10 mil increase passed. And the fire department pretty much got it passed. We bought signs and had yard signs, and they went up and up and up. The union did. They said it'd never pass, it passed. They now have 5 per shift, run the class 3.
And we did have signs that was posted at your major roadways.
Yeah, one of them was up here at Connie, but it was behind the,
Well, one was right there at the edge of 216 on Broadway, and it was visible as soon as you come down to 216.
yeah, I'm not looking for sign on
Point
side
out,
of the
I
road
wouldn't.
out there.
Well, and that goes back to how many people are looking on the side of the road for a sign when they're driving, because you don't know.
And the sign, all the sign said was support the fire department on this date. It didn't really say the vote or nothing.
Well, it's just gotta be, you gotta have a vision of what you wanna do with that increase, where you wanna go. If you wanna start having a service, transport service, you better get some money. Cause it's gonna cost a bunch.
And I think we discussed, the board discussed at the time, that we were to start off as ALS non-transport and then eventually move into transport, correct? So, that's like Brookwood runs ALS non-transport.
Well, at that,
But you still gotta have money for the ALS license.
sure you do. I mean, you gotta have so many medics.
Hang on back, I'm gonna see that.
You gotta, you start something, you don't have, you got one live pipe, well, it's dropped, it's gotta go in the shop for repairs, you gotta, you gotta figure, you gotta have double the equipment.
And even,
You gotta-
even with maintenance, I can only save the department so much money when it comes to maintenance. Because there's stuff that, I could do just about everything on these trucks. On all the equipment, not just the trucks. But at the same time, are we really gonna take a firefighter out of the station to rebuild a motor? We can't do that.
Speaking of which,
let's move on. Hang on. We're going round and round.
Yeah.
Hold your comment. We'll get back to it in just a second. We need to address this rebilling fee application. I didn't know there was what clarification does it need, Kathy?
Just, it will apply to this year after December the 1st, or December 31st, for residential dues. If you were delinquent and we send you another bill, that is when it starts. So it needs to be posted that, just making sure that's when the cycle starts for the new rebilling fee.
And what's the amount again is for? Didn't we go?
I thought it was 40.
Yeah.
but-
That's what I was.
50.
Well,
Fifty
was
was
for
for
check.
the
No,
check.
no, never mind, that's what you're saying, never mind.
Yeah,
That's
50
the
was
check.
for the return check.
That's the return check.
For-
yeah,
Do
that's
we
my
want
fault.
to make sure you're saying, do we want to make sure it's implemented right now or?
Yeah, well, you're not delinquent yet, so
Until-
as soon as it rolls over.
What was the date of the last bill sent out?
The last bill sent out were for businesses, the residential bills should already be sent out, and they were December the 31st, unless there's an issue with your bill, and we had to, and if it's on our end, that's fine, it will, way, but now it's businesses.
Okay, so all residential were all sent out by the end of October.
They were not sent out by the end of October, there were
Huge
some stragglers that carried into November, but they should all be billed out by now with at least a month.
They-
If not, they need to let us know, because the closing companies, they may or may not let us know that you actually closed, we may or may not have a correct address on you, we ask that they let us know, there's under no obligation to, and we have, you know, if the mail may or may not forward you something, so.
Well, did I not hear in the minutes that were read for approval from last time that, Jan Dickey Smith said she didn't get a bill?
She did not, she let us know.
And she's not moved, she's been here 40 years.
But we also.
That
I
goes-
didn't get mine.
That goes back to the mailing system. We've had numerous people say, we got nothing in the mail.
I had to have it print my bill.
And we looked and it's been mailed out.
And that goes for payments too, you know, we're encouraging everybody, we trust, you know, if you say email the payment in, we have no choice but to believe you. But we, on the same hand, saying you mail the payment in, people, we've got an awful lot of those. We want to believe you, but you know that the mail, you've got to contact us if you're having any issues. If you haven't gotten a bill, you need to let us know. If you mailed your payment and it hasn't cleared the
Just to
bank, please let us know.
put a little input in that, I came in one day and there was a stack of mail about 5 inches high sitting on the front porch, but they didn't put it in the mailbox. And it was a windy day in a rubber band, and it had money in it and checks.
And
And
this
I
is
called-
coming out of the postmaster. Did you talk to the
I
postmaster?
called the postmaster and told him it happened again 3 days later. And I called back up there, it said, I told her, I said, it does not need to happen again, or we will be finding who delivered it, and he won't be working there. Because it's not making it in our mailbox. He
Well, there's
says,
not only a postmaster right up here, but there is one for the city and state too. And then there's a federal postmaster.
yeah,
Ours gets scanned every day what's coming.
yeah, I do mine too.
We're
Yeah.
trying to open, it don't show up, scan, sends an email every day, shows the picture what's coming.
All right, so we got that clarified. You good? Did you have something, Tracy?
Yeah, I noticed on the, financial report, I've noticed that 1303 is back out of the shop. And on the financial report, the checks haven't been written. She said she had wrote one last month, she hadn't wrote the other one yet. But that one's not on here.
I think there was a holdup. You remember on the billing, was there a holdup because of the invoices were incorrect?
The,
And then the batteries?
the holdup was originally the billing. Then we got that fixed, and then the day that we went and picked up the truck, we had to add three more parts to it, which was 3 batteries. So they had to delete the whole deal, redo the whole, add batteries on it, and then recharge. It may not be on the financials because the check hadn't cleared yet.
That's more likely.
Now, how in the world could they rebuild an engine and have bad batteries in it?
Because you
They
gotta
just dump it off and just check the engine out?
they said that that it cranked and it ran when they got it done, but as we know, those batteries were probably two years old, maybe even more. So when we went and cranked it up, the truck still cranked. You just smelt that sulfur smell, and before we took it off the lot and got going down the road, and the batteries either explode or, as we all know with these new vehicles, the computer, when it starts seeing that drops below 10 volts, the computer shuts off all non-essential things to keep the truck running, which is what we ran on 1311 yesterday.
So it's more of a preventive
Correct.
thing than they're being dead, okay?
So we had to make a choice, either add the batteries or risk keeping it out of service, so we added the batteries.
Gary, did you check to make sure that those weren't the batteries that were replaced, just like, not maybe 2 years ago?
That's what I was saying, those batteries are 2 years old.
Most
Most of them
batteries,
last 5 years.
not all the time, we've had some, I mean, it,
1 year.
yeah.
They're only warranted for 1 year,
Mine's one.
so.
Different.
All right, going to new business. There's nobody here from the community about the billing issue. I don't think Mr. Williams, he didn't show up. Okay. All right. Any other new business? Are we tabling the, request on the retirement till we get some more discussion on it?
Yes.
Okay.
They
Got that.
have to do like I do and put 7.5% of their income in it?
I don't
I'm in
think it's that-
RSA, and that's mandatory, we have
That's
to
3%
part of that
match, if
discussion.
I'm not mistaken, it's 3 and 3, if I'm not
Oh,
mistaken.
you better check on that.
On
The chief is
the,
the one who provided the figures.
When I first started with the state, we put in 5% and the state put in 2.5%. About 10 years ago, they said, we're not doing that anymore, y'all gotta put the whole 7.5 in.
I know we had to put in, the department puts in 3%. From what I understand, it's supposed to be a 3 and 3 match. So 3 from them, 3 from
I
us.
wanna check on that.
Because, we were talking about the total cost of it being, a little over $3,000.
It may be different, I'm part of the Department of Commerce, so.
Yeah.
the deck, actually probably is old business, we got to do something about the deck. I know you said you wanted to see the other bids.
I
Once,
do.
once you see the other bids, does anybody still want to make a motion to go with the lowest bid? Steve suggested tearing down the deck ourselves for $900.
I mean,
I ain't mad at it.
Yeah.
yeah, I'd rather everything be licensed
I got a
and
chainsaw.
bonded and insured the way it's supposed to be, because I'm not pulling up a post and having half the wall collapse.
You're not
and be
gonna
on
pull it
me.
up, just sitting on top of concrete. Hey,
You can do a lot with 300 straight 300 pulling on it. But no, point is I want somebody insured doing that work. The only reason I really want to look at the other bids, because we owe it to the contractors to put them in. And I'm curious, I want to see, is there actually, like say it's $6,000 difference? Is there a $6,000 reason why he's more expensive? Or is it just I don't really want to build a deck right now, I've got more work, so I'm giving you a highball bid? Because if there's a reason for it, sometimes there's a reason why you do go with the slightly higher bid, because it's better warranty, better product, builder, backs it better, gives you something, sometimes there's a reason, and I just like to look at those bids, the itemization, and see what the difference is. You guys just charging us a 50% premium on 2x4s, then we go with the cheaper bid, for sure.
Well, aren't they here in the official records?
They should be in the chief's office.
But it does need to be done.
Yeah.
I just really hate to vote on something when I haven't had a chance to actually physically review those bids. And without Martha here, because I think she has an understanding of it too.
And
Without
Chief wasn't able to get y'all those, the other bid this time, because for the past 2 weeks, he's been dealing with trying to get the grants out.
Gary, do you happen to know by any chance how long those bids are good for?
1 year.
They're good for a year.
I want to say.
I thought they were 30 days.
30
days.
days. Most contractors are doing 48-hour guarantees right now.
I appreciate you correcting me. It is 1 month.
I thought he
Still
said
30
something.
days? I know a lot of guys who were doing, used to have 90-day guarantees, or 90 days.
I want to apologize for the board and apologize
It's
for the
48 hours now.
Yeah, it's been a long day, I'm sorry.
We're tabling the deck.
I think we need to get the chief on that. That needs to be done quickly, but we should probably look at a special call meeting for that. I think it's a really terrible time of year to think about that, but it needs to be done quickly, but we also need to do our due diligence on those bids.
We waited this long, within those 30 days.
We got our bid, we've got our grant now, and then all our bids expired.
All
wanting to tear it down and get it fixed right then and just have the grant reimburse us.
Wasn't that grant only like $3,000, but
It's a significant portion of it. I think is it 3 or is it 5? The Tom Bigby grant.
Surplus funds, not really.
I think we received
Hey,
3 already, but
Doug, have we found out anything from the bank about the surplus fund issue? How much we can? Nah. Okay, yeah, okay. That was the only thing that was still taken. Alright. Any other public input? Yes. ma'am.
Did you just circle back to the surplus, cause you tabled last month of what you were gonna decide to do with the surplus?
Yeah, we're waiting on a definition of how much money can be put into savings under the 501c3, is that correct? Yeah, so we're trying to get clear.
And the other, just for a time frame, you spoke about a AG opinion. When was that submitted? And when
That
is the
was-
expected answer?
Right after the election, the actual Tuscaloosa County Commission sent it from their office, so it wasn't submitted by us, and, we're waiting to get clarification on that.
And that, can take however long he or she wants to take to answer it.
I mean, there's obviously not
We're
a,
trying to find out how much you can put into savings under a 501c3.
Yes, we are a 501c3, and there's a certain number of amount of money, a percentage of your income that you can actually put in there. And we're wanting to make sure we don't put, I'm sorry.
It's all in how you do it.
Yeah.
You can do it through a CD,
Mhm.
and if you are getting your CDs right, like right now, I'm the secretary of Coldwater Lodge in Woodstock.
Yeah.
We've got 5 CDs totaling a little over $50,000.
Mhm.
And we're a 501c3. The way we do that, we've got them rolling so that one matures in a year, one matures in 2 years, one in 3, one in 4.
Like a ladder. Yeah.
And then, what we do is we just shop our rates as they mature, but they continually roll. And, I mean, we've got over $50,000 in savings just that one. That's not our general operating fund, that's just set aside for, if the air conditioner goes out, we cash in CD, put in new air conditioner.
Yeah.
which, are you a private or a public 501c? Private. That's the only thing that I would be concerned with, is I know we had the issue with a money market, because at one point, we were looking at a money market, it's like, you can't do that because we're
We may
quasi
do
public.
public though. That's grant lines level stuff, I don't get into all that. But I know is our intended unit, the way we're set up is 501c3, because we operate off of dues, and the way it was done years ago before I ever got involved, they had these CDs set up, and as long as you're not, because I've looked into this, as long as you're not generating this as a profit thing, there's nothing wrong with putting money into the savings accounts.
Yeah.
And, the way, it's not set up as savings accounts, it's set up with CDs, that give us a little bit of return on that money. So, I'm not sure, I think depending on how much you're talking about putting in, you might have to hit $100,000 before you have to get excited about it. It just depends on what you can do it, you can probably do like a $5,000 CD, never be a problem. Yeah, and set up several of those. Just, biggest thing is watching your interest rates, to see what you're getting back.
Yeah.
One thing you could consider or look into is you've got a lot of high dollar pieces of equipment some things, not most, some places will consider it as a reserve fund. That you do a reserve fund analysis for each line item. For instance, for a truck, if it takes 400,000 for a truck and the estimated life is 20 years, you're going to put aside incrementally every year for that, and do that for every item. So you would be funding your reserve account for these items when they're due or they're, so that wouldn't be
I think when
your,
we changed designations from a 501c4 to a 501c3, is that correct? And we were able to do CDs and stuff like that then, but we're
but
just.
you could put that money in a safe, but maybe earn a little something, but it's your reserve account. It's restricted. It's not like you just got a savings account or you're making money. You're setting it aside in order to provide the service that you're
And that's just
establishing.
us naming it as a, not necessarily the
Well,
bank.
the issue with that, this is the only issue I'd have with that. In the current, like if we had, let's just say we had $200 a year dues. I'd be 100% in agreement with you on looking at that. The only issue is in the financial situation that the department's in right now. If we earmark those funds incorrectly, and then we have a situation where we have to dip into those savings and get into that account to cover a major problem, then we end up in a
There's a
situation where we
solution
have
for
to
that.
look back.
There's a solution for that. It's called pooled reserves. There's two methods, line item or you can do pool. You still do the analysis to determine what's set aside every month for whatever items you're reserving for, but you establish it as a pool so that at any given time, the truck's great, it's not time to do it, or you, and something that should have lasted longer, the building, let's say, it comes due quicker than you thought. Because you pool the money, you can use it for that as opposed to, well, it's the roof, but it's not due yet, but it needs to be done now, we can't touch it.
What you're doing is you're putting a broader label on the funds than just saying this is for a truck.
Well, yeah, you're saying it's not a truck fund, it's a truck fund, a hose fund,
Right.
everything
A
fund.
pool fund, you're just broadening that.
Yeah. My concern is something that is not, even something that is not part of that pool causing a problem. Or you make your pool so broad, that you run across some
Well,
legal
there are
issues.
definitions for things like that.
And it's just because
And
being,
it's typically things that have an expected life of more than a year and a value, I'm using another entity I'm involved with, and is of 10,000 or more, the cost, 10,000 or more, and a life expectancy of it over a year. You could reserve for those legitimately. So think about what you have that you expect to last more than a year, and what are those things that might be, and it might be a different figure for your situation, but above X.
should probably speak to, both Don and, Stephanie about that.
Yeah.
We need to have a meeting with Stephanie anyway here in the next week or so, so we should probably just add that to the list of things that we talked to her about.
All right.
Actually,
Appreciate input on that, everybody.
I've actually got a couple of things that I haven't thought about yet. I've kind of forgotten about just updating everybody on the bylaws. We did get a rough recommendation from the attorney that fixes the various language and statutory issues. We'd asked for a couple more revisions. For instance, we didn't have the change in meeting date, so that we're no longer in conflict with the LPOA meetings. And it didn't have the addition of the, what's it called, the exemption policy that was requested, so we're having those added back. But hopefully, after we have our meeting with her here shortly, within a week or two, we'll be able to post those proposed bylaws so that everybody can start reviewing them, ahead of us calling it a special members meeting to ratify and change those bylaws so that we can get that up to date the way it needs to be. And I think that's, that's on our ongoing legal matter. It's pretty much, I think we pretty much got a resolution but we are waiting, I'm waiting on, a little bit of legal research from the attorney that's handling that, but, I'm pretty sure we'll have a vote to resolve that here soon.
Mr. Tracy, do you have anything? Go ahead.
Speaking of legal matters, on October the 10th, I received a phone call from the Ethics Commission stating that I purchased a piece of property and that I did it unethically. As of December the 1st, I received a letter from the Ethics Commission saying that I did no wrong. And there's my $7.50 and 5 weeks.
Okay. I think I can't accept that right now. Let this other thing he just talked about.
Nothing he can do.
I
I've
didn't
already
say-
talked to my attorney.
Well, our attorney's got to let us know that everything's clear as soon as it is.
Criminal and
That
civil. are
letter
different
right there,
matters.
that letter right there says it all.
Will you hang on to this until we get clarification from our attorney?
Come December the 31st, I will not be charged a late fee.
You would do.
Let it be on the record that I did try to pay my fire dues tonight, and they did not accept them.
Tracy, you wouldn't be able to charge you a late fee legally anyway. The board's position is that you don't legally own that property, you don't have the right to that
A
property.
piece of paper that says I do.
No, that says the ethics commission found not enough evidence to prosecute you for it. Civil and
There
criminal
was
have
no
different
evidence.
standards. So
Well,
on an
I
ethics.
think you're out of
but anyway,
line. You're out of
anyway,
line. You're out of line on this.
No, I'm not.
There's two different.
There's two different
issues.
things we're looking at,
You threatened her.
but
with
at this
criminal.
point, I'm not threatening her with anything, I'm
That's just
stating
wrong.
what a letter said, and I read it, so I know. The-
I make a motion that we drop all foreign lawsuits or anything else on this piece of property according to the ethics. It's no violation, the end of discussion.
I second that.
It's a $200 piece of property. You
You
can't
know-
build on it, you can't even stand on it.
How much money has this board used of public funds in the?
Zero.
No attorney fees?
Not.
He has not billed us yet,
Okay.
yet.
This is the same attorney that thinks Tracy works for the city of Lakeview.
He
I saw
doesn't.
the letter, it was a mess. Did any board member
I did not
review
see
this
that.
letter before it was put on her porch or whatever? I mean, was it reviewed?
On my porch,
Because
the
that's
mailbox.
not
Got a
some
motion
professional
in a
letter I've
second.
ever seen from an attorney.
We got a motion and a second on the floor.
Okay.
Any, got two in favor to end it?
Well, I guess we're probably gonna have to do a roll call vote up soon.
Yeah. All right. Roll call. Doug Baloo?
And just to end it, yes or no?
Yes.
No.
Sonia?
Yes. To
Joel?
end it.
Yes, to end it. George?
I'm hesitant because I don't know enough about it to really say, but if she has a letter from the state or whoever it is, ethics committee, I'm gonna have to say yes.
All right. Daniel?
No.
And Steve was a yes.
You betcha.
That's 3 yeses and 2 noes. The yes is passed. We dropped the issue.
Did anyone from the board review this letter from this attorney before it was sent out? That he did not even know this is a fire district rather than a fire department under the city of Lakeview? Did anybody review the letter?
Unfortunately, his assistant had already mailed it by the time a copy was submitted for review.
I've never seen it.
This is,
Mail
this is
every
the kind of thing that make people not want to vote for a rate increase, just keep that in mind.
Well, we're trying to look out for if we let one piece of property go, then somebody else walks in here and lets another piece of property go, and on down the line, it could trickle into, you know,
What
people
does
not
a
paying
piece
attention.
of property go? How did you?
You
what
never
property
had
did you
That's the
own?
private,
A piece of property was offered to the department for donation. Unfortunately, the donation was not handled, it came at the same time that the old office administrative assistant was let go, and that other various issues had happened. Then it came back again the next year, and the guy was like, hey, why did you not pay these dues? And we said, you know, he said, why am I still getting billed? I thought I donated this property. It was supposed to be handled then again. And then, the property before it was ever processed as a donation was taken over by a private citizen.
And why would this body want to own a piece of property?
To turn around and sell it.
How often have you done that?
I actually voted last year to have all of our properties reviewed, to the ones that we don't have any possible future use for, to have them listed for auction. Just basically to collect our back fire dues on them more than anything else.
So do you have a process and policy for such a thing? I mean, the state and the county does it all the time. If I don't pay my property taxes, it can be auctioned, there's a date certain. After you don't pay it, they're gonna be out there auctioning property. That's every year. So how long has this been going on?
We made the motion last year, or it would've been in,
But
last year.
properties that you have taken and have you auctioned any?
We haven't auctioned any yet because we've been focused on other matters than
How
getting
many
those up.
do you own?
Last I checked, we have 2 that can actually possibly be auctioned off. Some we're holding because we have one that's being held for a potential Station 3 at some point because of its location and size. We have another that there's some, I guess there's some confusion on because the county says they have a road that basically splits it in half and takes up the majority of it, but there's actually no road there, or if there was a road there at some point, it's an overgrown dirt road, so there's some confusion on that property. But for years, the way it was basically handled was, and I work with enough realtors in this area who know this, it'd be, oh, you wanna have fishing rights in the LPOA? Go up to the fire hall and talk to the people in the office there. They usually have 2 or 3 they picked up from back dues, and you can just pay them for them. And once I got elected on, that was one of my first motions was, hey, no
That's kind
more.
of a
It needs to be auctioned off.
peaky thing to be doing.
It shouldn't be done that way. It should have never been done that
The
way.
fire
That's why I
department's
said-
owned several pieces of property for years.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some that's been on the roster.
15,
When I started,
20
when I
And yet
started
you
something.
don't have money to, you say pay people, do equipment, you want people to pay more, but you're sitting on an asset you should have been selling. You can't use it.
Yeah, that's
No,
what
no,
we're
no.
we're trying to sell.
We
We haven't been here that long.
They're worth a couple $100. We're not
We-
talking about tracts of land that are worth thousands. They're literally, some of these pieces of property are unbuildable half lots that are worthless to anybody who just doesn't want to be able to fish. And I know, cause I own a full lot that I'm getting ready to sell.
There's
And
actually
it's-
one that
I
just
think I'm
came-
getting like $700 for it, and that's a full lot that's technically buildable.
There's one that just came in this year that the guy turned over because he didn't want the property anymore. So he turned it over, and it actually attaches to a smaller one so it's actually a buildable lot is what he's talking about. So that's in the plans to sell this year as soon as we can get the finalization on all the paperwork.
Did you have anything in writing about a deal on this particular lot before she so-called took it from the fire department?
Yes, as a matter of fact, the evening that I made the motion that all properties that we sell from this department be put up for auction, she actually approached me after that meeting and said, well, hey, I wanted this piece of property, I was gonna buy it from the department when he donated.
That is a lie. That was not me. That was done in one of these meetings with everybody here, and it was Robert Bowers who wanted to purchase a piece of property.
No,
and
Robert
sell
Bowers
it.
wanted to purchase a piece of property from me that one of my
No, he
companies.
did not. He wanted to purchase a piece of property right up here on Belmont.
This conversation happened right out there.
No, this
on that
conversation
board.
happened right here in this building,
Tracy, I'm not gonna argue with you.
I know
We
you're
had
not,
a-
but
we
you
had a
know, I'm
discussion.
telling the truth and you're lying.
And I'd be willing to sit up in front of a judge and a jury and call you a liar to your face if we had that conversation.
That's the
But it's
first
point-
All right, that's enough.
Yes,
That's
it's
enough.
he said, she said, and at this point, it's
Yes,
not
sir.
worth arguing.
Let me ask a couple simple questions on this, okay? How big is this piece of property that we're talking about?
It's a half lot.
It's quarter lot.
Or it's a chunk of unbuildable land right over here.
Okay, so you're stating that it's unbuildable land. Give me an estimated value,
It could probably be sold for $400 or $500.
okay? And you haven't got the bill from the attorney yet, that he spent time working on this. And so you're losing money. You're losing money. You're bleeding money that you.
He
don't
actually
have.
hasn't got us any hours on it.
No, actually, the legal fees are billable to the individual that took the property, so, yes.
But if we want to,
If we wanted to go that route.
But I think you voted to drop that.
yeah, so it's dropped.
So you bled money over a piece of property.
We haven't-
You can't make money on it.
We haven't spent anything on it at this point.
Yeah, until you get that bill from the attorney that you got back. So, you know.
There were, and I will say this, there were other matters that influenced the decision to move forward with that. That had nothing to do with the actual property there.
I'm looking at the business aspect of it. Is what we're getting out of it worth the expenditure? And what you're getting out is not worth the expenditure. If she's got a letter from the ethics commission that says she's done no wrong,
Well, they've already decided.
It's already been
done.
decided.
That
Yeah,
is,
that's
but
already
but
been
they've
voted.
got a whole
Voted
gig
to
going
drop
on.
Yeah, it's already, that's done, it's been voted.
yeah, so, I mean,
Listen, a whole gig, really?
Well, I mean, you're talking about how long you've had property that you're just moving around.
We hadn't had property, we've had property for years from all the other boards for 20-something
Oh,
years.
and I use the you because as a board.
Well, it does-
Regardless of whether it's you sitting
Don't
on that
point
board or
accusations.
you. It's
Please
the
don't
board.
point accusations at this board. We only got one piece of property this year. And it's
How many
being,
does this
it's been,
board- How money does this district own?
there's roughly 7 pieces of property, is that correct, Catherine? And, yeah. And one of
that
them's
is
one of them's a
this-
road.
This one,
Okay.
that one,
Eight.
and one across by the municipal building, is that right?
Yeah.
When,
So that means there's 4.
And one that has a road split in it, so that's 5. And then there's 2 on Teddy with
Yeah.
that one that just got added this year.
One on Becky.
Becky, I'm sorry.
And then
yeah,
there's
Becky's the
one
one that
Maybe.
we had a lot and somebody donated it, so now it would be a big enough lot that somebody could build on.
And we can actually liquidate that into something meaningful. But it'll, like I said, it needs to be done by auction, we don't need to be having any property that's going out otherwise.
Ma'am,
You didn't know this piece of property to begin with, right?
we didn't have which piece of property. It was being donated by Mr. Marty
It was being donated for how, I mean. what do you
for his
know
backfire dues, from what I understand. So there's probably more
Was
back
there
there.
something in writing about it though, or is it just been talk for? It's-
All right,
I got
Yes.
just 1 or 2 things.
Based on the board of this board this evening, should we not accept your check?
Now, yeah, with that vote, there's no reason not to at this point.
And I just wanna, do we have enough candy for Saturday, and where are the signs?
one other thing,
Somebody, I think it was Catherine that texted me and asked me.
is there
what I
any
was
back
looking
dues on
like.
that property?
We can always use more candy.
Okay,
So, and I need to.
I'll make another trip to Walmart.
We're trying to have someone at each stop.
I've got ours covered.
Okay, and I've got the signs, they should be downstairs, but we were gonna put them out until that day, just to make sure they don't disappear, but at each.
I'll come and get mine Friday.
Okay, so,
I'll bring
Hexagon
that
was a stop, and we were just kinda wondering if there would be somebody available, just that.
Did we have
just
any
in-
additional stops? Cause we had a couple of people where we reached out, hey, if there's any kids in, we're
Yes,
in
there-
Washington. and
Well, let
whatnot.
me, Hepzibah we still don't have anybody for helps with us, so if you know of anybody who could just, they don't have to do anything major, no, could just make sure the sign is there, children stay behind the sign that says on its way, he'll stop the truck, get out, make sure, you know, everybody knows you've got to stay back, and you can't, you know, kind of. Yeah, we're still flu, COVID and all that, so we're gonna try and get the candy bagged up, so individual kids would hand them out that way without, you know, so if you know anybody, that'd be great. Yes, on the additional stop in a manner. We would really love to get the heritage area, but there's no safe place for him to stop. So he's just going to make a special ride through the neighborhood. If there is somebody who has, you know, a large facility that would like to donate its use, that would be great. But as of right now, we don't have a safe place for him to stop and let the kids come up. Cause, you know, we don't really, in big cities have sidewalks, easy to stop, things like that. We don't have that set up here.
Yeah, Wendy's like 3 feet wide.
Yeah, so we need a place for him to be able to stop the fire truck, get out, and the kids be able to come up, but without, you know, being too overcrowded.
I think we're gonna let it go just right. When you come into our complex, you know, they've got the circle, he can park right there in front of the circle. People can still get around, and then you don't have to back up everything, you can just go around the circle and get back in.
Which stop was that?
The townhomes,
Okay, the townhomes, the only issue with that is me and Chief done the routes yesterday. The only issue with the townhomes that we saw was when you come around the backside of townhomes, that road is real narrow, and there's you got a lot of people that are parking on one side and on the townhouse.
well, let me offer this. I have the very last townhouse, single
Yes,
story.
ma'am.
Y'all are welcome to pull up in my yard and back up
And that's what me and Chief discussed, was to pull up on that last one, which is.
That's fine, so we're good.
And then back up, and then back into the, that dirt mound back there.
Yeah.
And then pull up to the beginning, that first road going around the townhomes and stop. That
Well,
way it's not
there's pretty good light in the circle,
Right.
because that's the only street light that works.
That was the only issue that we had with the townhomes and keeping the kids in back far enough so that when we back sign
We'll
off.
keep them, I'll make sure, if I'm supposed to work, but if I can get off early, I will, but, I'll make sure Tiffany, she's got some of the kids, she'll make sure that they're behind the,
Right.
in the circle when y'all come in, but yeah, y'all welcome to turn around in my yard.
And I don't know who the driver was, or is going to be, that's going to be taking Santa Claus yet, but,
What, you're not doing it?
We're still in session. Do we wanna talk a little bit more about this delivery and then post it?
Yeah, that was my, we're still accepting candy donations, so we put that out there. That would be great if anybody wants to donate.
Okay. Got a motion to adjourn? Motion to adjourn, second, at
Who made the motion?
8:43.
Steve. Second was
Doug.
George,
Doug. Doug. Any,